Renegade Immortal Episode 134. In the northern reaches of the Luotian star field, a brilliant streak of light tore through the cosmic void, speeding across the expanse. From within the radiance, the ancient, resonant voice of an old man echoed. Mayor, he said softly, this is your master's hometown. It is here that you will cultivate in the years to come. I haven and Oppos, T returned for thousands of years. If not for the Luotian stone left behind by the Huan ancestors, it would not have been an easy task to bring you here. Inside the light, the woman nodded slightly. She gazed out at the unfamiliar star region, her eyes reflecting the distant celestial bodies, yet she felt no sense of belonging to this strange new world. The old man continued his explanation, pointing toward a shimmering destination. That glazed place ahead is planet Qianhuan, one of the 5 main planets of the northern region and the seat of your master's family. You must understand, the Luotian star field places immense value on bloodlines. Without a proper family lineage, one cannot practice high-level arts or receive the protection of a clan. From this day forward, you shall be my adopted daughter. Once we return, I will perform a blood exchange for you, injecting the Huan bloodline into your veins and changing your name to Huan Mei. The old man's eyes shone with great anticipation as he asked, do you agree? He was extremely satisfied with this disciple, so much so that he was willing to utilize the rare and taxing blood exchange method to break her current bloodline shackles. Lu Mei pondered the proposal for a brief moment before replying in a soft, compliant voice, I will follow master's arrangements, The old man laughed heartily, his joy echoing through the light. He promised then and there to cultivate her into a great cultivator of the second step, perhaps even one who would eventually surpass his own Nirvana Scryer stage. The streak of light surged with renewed speed, heading straight for the dazzling, iridescent surface of planet Qianhuan. As they approached, Lu Mei looked at the planet, her thoughts turning inward. This journey to Luotian is my true path, she mused. Everything regarding Wang Lin and planet Suzaku has vanished like smoke. With his talent, he likely has an Oppos, T even reached the ascendant stage yet. The gap between us will only grow wider from here. He is no longer worthy of being my opponent. It is a pity that the treasure I prepared for him will no longer have a use. A flash of focus appeared in her eyes, a momentary spark of pain that was quickly replaced by a cold, mask-like indifference. The light finally plunged into the atmosphere of planet Qianhuan and disappeared. Meanwhile, on planet Ranyun, Wang Lin sat in his residence, surrounded by piles of immortal jade. He had been absorbing the energy diligently for 7 days. When he finally opened his eyes, bolts of eerie lightning flickered within his pupils. He swallowed the remaining traces of lingering immortal qi and looked down at the surrounding jade, which had been reduced to fine white dust. Standing up, he prepared to leave his quarters. In the northern part of the city, a young man named Sunling was meditating by the rocks. He exhaled a breath of white mist, muttering to himself, I must work hard to capture it and reach the mid-stage of the nascent soul soon, Suddenly, Sunling's brow furrowed. He spotted a man in purple robes walking toward him. The stranger appeared to be about 30 years old, handsome, and possessing a sharp, piercing aura. He seemed to blend into the surroundings so perfectly that he was difficult to distinguish from the world around him. The man stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze fixed on the entrance of the residence, as if waiting for someone. Sensing Sunling's gaze, the man gave him a single, dismissive glance and then ignored him entirely. Sunling's heart tightened. He found himself unable to see through the man's cultivation level, feeling only a primal, soul-level sense of danger. Just then, the entrance formation flickered with light, and Wang Lin stepped out. The purple-robed man's gaze shifted immediately. An overwhelming pressure descended upon the area, carrying a hidden battle intent that was forcibly suppressed, a nuance that only Wang Lin was capable of perceiving. Sunling felt the air grow deathly cold. He scrambled to his feet and shouted to Wang Lin, "Go back." Wang Lin paused, startled by the outburst. Sun Ling hurried toward the formation, whispering urgently, and quote, "That person is definitely here to cause you trouble. I am responsible for this place. I will keep you safe," end quote. With those words, he prepared to crush a transmission Jade to call for reinforcements. End quote. "You are not his match," end quote, Wang Lin said calmly. Sun Ling frowned, his hand still gripping the Jade. End quote. "This is none of your concern. If you insist on coming out, then I won and oppose. Take care what happens," end quote. Wang Lin smiled faintly and took 2 steps back, remaining inside the formation. Sun Ling stood defiantly in front of him, calling out to the purple-robed man, and quote, "Senior, this is the Sun family residence. May I ask what business brings you here?" end quote. The purple-robed man looked surprised, his battle intent vanishing instantly. He looked at Sun Ling with a spark of interest. And quote, "What is your name?" end quote. And quote, "This junior is Sun Ling," end quote, he replied. The man nodded in approval. And quote, "You are very dutiful. Now, step aside. I am looking for the person behind you," end quote. Sun Ling's expression shifted, but he did not move. And quote, "Senior, as long as he has and oppose. T stepped out of the residence. He is my responsibility. I cannot step aside," end quote. The purple-robed man frowned, sweeping a cold gaze over Sun Ling. His eyes bypassed the young man to lock onto Wang Lin. Under that gaze, Sun Ling's entire body began to tremble as if he were facing an ancient, ferocious beast. He knew instinctively that one more word would mean being torn apart. Wang Lin watched with a calm expression, observing the nascent soul cultivator who stood before him, shaking with fear yet refusing to yield his ground. Sun Ling remained silent, gritting his teeth as he took a deep breath. And quote, "Senior," end quote, he stammered, and quote, "He has and oppose. T taken a single step out, so I must protect him. Besides, he is only a core formation cultivator. Why must Senior make things difficult?" end quote. The man grew impatient, his aura rising as he prepared to scold the junior, but Wang Lin spoke first. And quote, "Enough," end quote. With a perfectly normal expression, Wang Lin stepped out of the formation. And quote, "Why did you come out? Go back," end quote. Sun Ling was so anxious he nearly crushed the transmission Jade in his hand. Wang Lin turned around and offered a slight smile. And quote, "It's fine," end quote. He began walking toward the purple-robed man. Suddenly, a cloud of mist appeared out of nowhere, obscuring Sun Ling's view. The 2 men stood 30 paces apart. Wang Lin continued his forward progress with calm, measured steps. As the distance closed, the purple-robed man gradually felt an extremely heavy pressure weighing down on him. At 10 paces, the pressure reached its absolute peak. The man's face changed slightly, his eyes exploding with spiritual light as he forced himself to stand firm. Wang Lin took another step. The man felt his mind roar, and he was forced to take an involuntary step back. Wang Lin then took 8 consecutive steps. Each footfall was like a thunderclap in the man's mind, building into a raging storm inside his body. The man retreated repeatedly, his face turning pale and his eyes filling with shock. For the final step, Wang Lin raised his foot and released the full weight of the momentum he had gathered. The man's face changed drastically. He took another large step back and quickly cupped his hands in a respectful salute. And quote, "Fellow Taoist, I mean no ill intent," end quote. Wang Lin gave him a cold, piercing glance and walked straight past him. The man offered a bitter smile and followed behind. The mist dissipated. Sun Ling, unable to see what had transpired, sighed and returned to the rocks to meditate. He lamented the fact that Wang Lin likely wooed and oppose. T survived the encounter, but he felt he had already done his duty. Outside the north of the city, Wang Lin walked calmly toward the Baohe Pavilion in the east. The purple-robed man followed at his side, smiling wryly. And quote, "Fellow Taoist Su, I am Sun Shi. I truly meant no harm just now," end quote. Sun Shi was one of the 3 ascendant cultivators on planet Rannon, an early-stage ascendant ancestor. He had already demonstrated his strength as a deterrent. Sun Shi was silent for a moment, then smiled bitterly. And quote, I was reckless. It is only because my request is so urgent. If Brother Su is willing to help me, I am willing to use the Sun family's full power to aid your cultivation. End quote. And quote, your family cannot support two ascendants. End quote. Wang Lin replied indifferently. Sun Shi gritted his teeth, offering his ultimate bargaining chip. And quote, I can give you my spot for the selection to the celestial realm in 100 years. End quote. Wang Lin paused, glanced at him sideways, and then continued walking. Sun Shi quickly explained, and quote, when the Thunder Celestial Realm of Luotian opens, the Thunder Cauldron is controlled by the Thunder Celestial Temple. Only families registered with the temple have the qualification for their members to participate. It is impossible for outsiders to enter, end quote. He seemed to be explaining the rules, but he was actually testing Wang Lin's background. Wang Lin smiled slightly. And quote, there is a junior in your Sun family named Sun Xueshan. Is he well? End quote. Sun Shi's eyes flickered. He gave Wang Lin a deep, searching look and smiled. And quote, Xueshan's cultivation is decent. Thank you, Brother Su, for saving his life. End quote. The two looked at each other and shared a knowing smile. Sun Shi's wariness of Wang Lin grew even stronger. He secretly noted the man's mysterious origins and deep schemes. He decided then to befriend Wang Lin rather than risk offending him. And quote, is Brother Su satisfied with my proposal? End quote, Sun Shi asked. And quote, let me consider it for a few days. End quote. Wang Lin brushed the question off. Sun Shi did not press further, instead shifting the conversation to the customs and stories of planet Rannon. Talking and laughing, they arrived at Baohe Pavilion. Today was the day of the grand auction, and the building was bustling with people. Staff members were busy receiving guests according to the rank of their tokens. As soon as they arrived, Sun Qiming hurried forward and bowed respectfully. And quote, third-generation clansman Sun Qiming greets the ancestor and senior Su. End quote. As the person in charge of the Sun family's business interests there, Sun Qiming personally led the way, taking them to a private room on the 4th floor. On the way up, the young man surnamed Liu, who had previously stopped Wang Lin, saw them. He watched Sun Qiming's respectful attitude toward Wang Lin and was struck with amazement, vaguely feeling that he had missed something very important. Inside the private room, after Wang Lin sat down, his mind suddenly stirred. His divine sense swept down to the 3rd floor, where he spotted an elderly figure. He was startled. Asterisk, it's him. The brand on him is very faint, it has even mostly dissipated. There must be a problem here, asterisk. Sun Shi, unaware of Wang Lin and Oppo's internal discovery, spoke up. And quote, Brother Su, this rank 8 pill being auctioned today has an extraordinary origin. For years ago, a foreign cultivator was heavily injured and fled to planet Rannon. The Ran family ancestor and the Hermit of Leisure teamed up to steal the pill. That cultivator was killed by the Ran family ancestor. End quote. Wang Lin frowned, knowing this story must be related to Sun Shi's request. Sun Shi continued, and quote, there were 5 pills in total. The Hermit of Leisure and I each got one. The Ran family ancestor, who is already at the mid-stage of the ascendant stage, took 3. However, we didn't end Oppo's dare to use these pills lightly. Inside that dead cultivator's storage bag was a token of the Huan family from planet Qianhuan. End quote. Wang Lin turned to look at him. And quote, fellow Daoist son, I don and Oppo's like listening to stories. End quote. Sun Shi smiled slightly. And quote, Brother Su is clever. You should know why this rank 8 pill is being auctioned again. End quote. A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He understood instantly. This pill was a trap set by the ascendant cultivator of the Ran family. The goal was to drag a new party into the incident from 4 years ago. If someone swallowed the pill, they would be tied to the karma of the Huan family. Even explaining the situation later would be useless. The auction on the 2nd floor had begun. Various treasures, rare materials, and pills were being bid on in turns. Sun Shi put down his teacup and said, seemingly to himself, and quote, "The Huan family is extremely overbearing. If a clansman is killed, all those involved will have their families exterminated. Even the items from their storage bags, even if obtained through a legitimate auction, will bring their wrath. I still haven and oppose. T dared to consume my pill," end quote. At this time, the auctioneer held up a black jade box and announced loudly, and quote, "Next, we will auction a rank 8 pill. Only ascendant cultivators can consume it. Anyone below the ascendant stage will surely explode and die. Starting price, 10,000 immortal jades," end quote. The wax pill in the box looked ordinary, with no medicinal scent emanating from it. The hall was filled with hushed discussion, but no one dared to place a bid. The item was poison to those below the ascendant stage, possession of it was a crime, and the Rand family's decision to auction it was far too suspicious. The atmosphere within the auction hall was thick with hesitation. Everyone present was afraid to blindly enter the fray. The auctioneer's gaze swept across the 4th floor, his voice booming as he asked loudly if anyone would like to place a bid. Wang Lin, his eyes fixed upon the wax pill for a long time, finally spoke with an air of cold indifference. And quote, "1 immortal jade," end quote. His voice carried with crystalline clarity across the 2nd floor, instantly igniting a massive uproar. Laughter erupted from the crowd as if they were witnessing the antics of a madman. How could he dare to offend the Rand family, the power behind the Baohe Pavilion, in such a blatant and mocking manner? Inside a private room on the 4th floor, Sun Shi's hand froze midair, the teacup he held suspended. A strange light flickered in his eyes as he let out a soft, contemplative sigh. End quote, "Brother Su, I am impressed," end quote. Beside him, Sun Qiming's expression was equally paralyzed. He remained speechless for a long time, unable to process the audacity of the bid. On the 2nd floor, the young man surnamed Lu was even more dumbfounded upon hearing the familiar voice. He could only mutter to himself in disbelief, and quote, "Wang Lin has gone mad," end quote. Yet, amidst the general clamor, no one noticed a weathered old man sitting inside a 3rd-floor room whose heart suddenly jolted with violent recognition. He looked up toward the 4th floor, his eyes clouded with intense doubt. End quote, "That voice isn and oppose, t him," end quote, he whispered to himself. End quote, "But why did my soul tremble? Other than Xingniu, I have no other soul imprints," end quote. He hesitated for a long moment, standing up in agitation before sitting back down, staring blankly into the distance. The auctioneer looked up toward the 4th floor, a bitter smile hidden within his heart. As a member of the Rand family's main clan, he had been strictly ordered to ensure the pill was sold to a specific person. However, this price was both unacceptable in value and impossible to refuse in practice. The ancestor had already instructed that the pill must be sold during this session, no matter the circumstances. After a heavy moment of silence, the auctioneer gritted his teeth and announced, end quote, "Since there is only one bidder, it shall be sold for 1 immortal jade," end quote. A cold smile curled on Wang Lin's lips. He reached out into the empty air, and the wax pill instantly flew from the stage into his grasp. He then tossed out a single immortal jade, cupped his fists in a brief gesture towards Sun Shi, and turned to leave. He completely ignored the rising clamor and the judgmental stares of the crowd behind him. Teleporting outside the Baohe Pavilion, he mused to himself, end quote, "Trying to lure me in with just 1 pill? Not enough," end quote. Back inside, the old man on the 3rd floor gritted his teeth. His figure flickered like a guttering candle and vanished. Wang Lin walked toward a secluded area of the city and eventually turned around. The old man appeared behind him, observing him with a fierce, searching expression. Then, with a light sigh, the old man's hostility faded, and he cupped his fists. End quote, "Fellow Taoist, I have mistaken you for someone else. Please do not take offense," end quote. Just as the old man turned to leave, Wang Lin remained silent for a heartbeat before slowly speaking a name. End quote, "Sun Tai," end quote. The old man's body jolted violently. He spun around, staring straight at Wang Lin. Do you know that Luotian has a planet Donglin? End quote. Before Sun Tai could elaborate, Wang Lin swept his large sleeve, wrapping the old man in a surge of power and teleporting them both to the north of the city. Upon entering his own residence, the two sat cross-legged. Wang Lin looked at Sun Tai and said in a deep, commanding voice, end quote, "Now you can speak," end quote. Sun Tai's eyes were filled with a complex swirl of emotions. He stared at Wang Lin for a long time, unable to find the words to begin. Though his cultivation had fallen to the soul transformation stage, his eyes were still sharp with the experience of ages. Yet, no matter how he looked, he could not see through the depths of Wang Lin's power. He suddenly realized the gravity of the situation. The weak soul transformation cultivator he had once coursed in the celestial realm, the minor character who could only look up in awe at the battle between Sun Tai and Zhou Yi, simply could not be reconciled with the person sitting before him now. The Wang Lin of the past had sharp eyes, but seemed slightly naive, possessing a cultivation base so low that, were it not for Zhou Yi's protective imprint, Sun Tai could have killed him with a single palm strike. The Wang Lin of today had indifferent eyes, yet a casual glance made Sun Tai's soul tremble as if his nascent soul had been struck by a bolt of divine thunder. The Wang Lin of the past held a lowly status. Even on planet Suzaku, he was just a pawn to be ignored by any ascendant cultivator. But the man of today, as soon as he appeared, caused the Ran family's ascendant ancestor to be wary, even going so far as to offer an 8th-grade pill just to win his favor. Meanwhile, Sun Tai himself had become a mere guest of the Ran family, his former glory long since ground into the dust. The intense contrast made Sun Tai's emotions surge. In just a few hundred years, the person before him had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. The minor character who could only look up to him back then was now so powerful that Sun Tai did not dare speak loudly, nor did he dare to meet his gaze directly. He realized that, even if he were to become this man's servant, he would have no grounds for complaint. Though Wang Lin did not fully know the old man and Oppo's inner thoughts, he could discern much from his shifting expression. He simply watched him with a calm, steady gaze. End quote. What is your current cultivation level? End quote. Sun Tai asked in a low, hesitant voice. End quote. Ascendant. End quote. Wang Lin replied flatly. Sun Tai smiled bitterly. He absolutely did not believe Wang Lin was merely at the ascendant stage. If that were true, how could he not sense even a trace of the man and Oppo's aura? In his view, even the Ran family ancestor was far inferior to this former minor character. He finally understood why the ancestor had used the auction as a pretext to gift the 8th-grade pill to Wang Lin. End quote. You Haven and Oppo's T answered my question yet, end quote, Wang Lin said, withdrawing his gaze to look out the window. His tone remained calm, but the weight of it made Sun Tai's body tremble. How would that minor character have ever dared to speak to him like this in the past? But now he could only answer obediently. End quote. When I was teleported to the Luotian star system, I arrived near planet Donglin, end quote, Sun Tai began. End quote. I served as a servant for the Liu family there for 100 years before I was finally allowed to leave freely. The imprint you placed on me was broken by someone from the Liu family, but I didn't and Oppo's expect it would and Oppo's dissipate completely, end quote. End quote. The Liu family, end quote. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed slightly. End quote. Planet Donglin is dominated by the Su, Yu, and Liu families, the 3 strongest, end quote, Sun Tai explained. End quote. They are unfathomable. Any elder they send out could easily wipe out a place like planet Ranyun, end quote. He recalled his time on planet Donglin, a flicker of genuine fear appearing in his eyes. End quote. That is a chaotic and bloody hell. My 100 years of Dao heart were long ago ground to dust in that place, end quote. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. The great elder of the Shirin sect, who had once commanded the winds and clouds of planet Suzaku, had truly fallen. Even if he managed to recover his cultivation, his spirit was broken. It would be hard for him to progress any further. And quote, on planet Donglin, is there a Xiang family? End quote. Wang Lin suddenly asked. Sun Tai thought for a long time before shaking his head. And quote, as far as I know, no. Perhaps my status was too low to be privy to such secrets. End quote. Wang Lin was silent for a moment, then asked, end quote, as the great elder of the Shireen sect on planet Suzaku, do you know what kind of organization the Shireen sect really is? End quote. Sun Tai sighed deeply. End quote. Though I was the great elder, I didn't and oppose. Know much. The Shireen sect is one of the two major sects in the Alliance star system. It spans the entire Alliance, with many cultivators of great divine abilities among its ranks. The sect leader is a high-ranking member of the Cultivation Alliance itself. The other major sect is the Four Sage sect. Planet Suzaku is the descendant of the Vermilion Bird branch. The first-generation Suzaku came from the Four Sage planet. In a sense, you are also an outer disciple of the Four Sage sect. End quote. Wang Lin's expression grew solemn. Only now did he gain a true understanding of the scale of the Alliance star system. End quote. What is your status in the Ran family? End quote. Wang Lin inquired. End quote. Just a guest. End quote. Sun Tai replied. End quote. Because of my insights into alchemy and refinement, I was kept by the Ran ancestor in Baoha Pavilion to live out my remaining days. End quote. His eyes were full of weariness. He then warned again. End quote. You should and oppose. Have taken that 8th grade pill. It and oppose. A scheme by the Ran ancestor. For years ago, end quote. He proceeded to recount the events of 4 years ago in great detail, confirming much of what Sun Shi had previously mentioned. As they spoke, the sky grew dark. The setting sun spilled through the window, casting its orange glow onto Sun Tai and making him look even older and more frail. A faint trace of death aura quietly seeped out from his body. Wang Lin, being proficient in the life and death reincarnation domain, saw through it at a single glance. End quote. Your lifespan is running out. End quote. Sun Tai nodded bitterly. End quote. 20 years left. I can feel it. End quote. End quote. Go back. End quote. Wang Lin said, closing his eyes. End quote. In 20 years, if I am still on planet Ranyun, I will personally see you off. End quote. Sun Tai remained silent for a long time. Finally, he stood up and said, end quote, can you promise me one thing? In 20 years, if you see me off, take my ashes back to the Alliance star system. Take them to the foot of Heaven Mountain on planet Dark Moon. There is a small village there. It is my home. End quote. Wang Lin opened his eyes and gave a solemn nod. Sun Tai offered a grateful smile. He reached into his robe, took out a storage bag, and placed it on the side. End quote. There are over 50,000 immortal jades here, along with my lifelong insights into alchemy and refinement. I have no use for them anymore. Consider it my thanks. End quote. Facing the setting sun, Sun Tai walked away with a slight limp, his back carrying the heavy weight of time. Wang Lin watched his departing figure, feeling a profound sense of melancholy. The great elder of the Shireen sect, who once ruled his world, had finally let go of everything, wishing only for his roots to return to the earth. Wang Lin closed his eyes, a trace of mist appearing in his heart. Karma, he realized, might be the very source of life and death reincarnation. Where there is life, there is death. Where there is a cause, there is an effect. But this realization was still raw and nascent, seeming within his reach yet remaining difficult to fully grasp. Meanwhile, on planet Qianhuan, Lume sat cross-legged within the Huan family pavilion, fumbling with a storage bag. A flash of pain crossed her eyes, though it was quickly replaced by a mask of indifference. A sudden fluctuation emanated from the storage bag. She bit her fingertip and dripped a single drop of blood into it, causing the fluctuation to fade. End quote. The treasure prepared for him is useless after all. End quote. She sighed softly. Recently, a major event had begun to spread across planet Qianhuan. An ancestor of the Huan family who had left thousands of years ago had returned, bringing back a disciple of astonishing talent. In 3 months, she would be awakened and formally inducted into the Huan family and Oppo's main line. Wang Lin's divine sense swept the surroundings to ensure privacy. He tapped his storage bag, and a massive quantity of immortal jades flew out, spreading across the sky like a canopy of gems. He sat cross-legged, his hands moving in a blur as he formed seals and cast several complex imprints. The immortal jades fell one after another, embedding themselves into the earth to form a nameless grand formation spanning 10 miles. This formation was a creation of his own, based on the principles of the third style of the underworld river. Its purpose was to absorb the energy of all the immortal jades at once, using the concentrated immortal power to surge his cultivation forward. With the formation complete, Wang Lin released his 7-star swords to circle and guard him. The immortal guard within his shadow merged into the surrounding terrain, standing watch against any possible disturbance. He took a deep breath and let out a low shout. His voice transformed into a physical ripple of energy, and the immortal jades began to explode in sequence, turning into a fine dust that filled the sky. A terrifying burst of immortal power erupted, forming a massive hurricane that rose from the ground with Wang Lin at its eye. The storm soared into the clouds, triggering claps of thunder in the heavens above. At that moment, 3 powerful individuals on planet Ranyun clearly felt the surge of immortal power: Sun Shi, the middle-aged man dwelling deep within the glacier, and the Rand family ancestor. Sun Shi, who had been meditating, suddenly opened his eyes, his face filled with shock. The middle-aged man in the glacier also opened his eyes, looking toward the direction of the storm and frowning in deep thought. Inside the Rand family ancestral home, the old ancestor sat listening to the report on the pill auction, his attention suddenly diverted by the distant tremor of power. Upon hearing that a grade 8 pill had been sold for a mere single celestial jade, the man was nearly consumed by a burgeoning rage. However, before his anger could boil over, he was startled to his feet by the sudden, violent aura of a celestial power storm. With a grim expression, he stood and gazed intently into the distance. Within the heart of that raging hurricane, Wang Lin's eyes snapped open. He let out a low, resonant shout that pierced the wind. Opening his mouth, he began to inhale the raw celestial power. To any onlooker, the sight would have been staggering. The massive hurricane was being sucked into his stomach at a speed clearly visible to the naked eye. As he drew the energy in, the spectral image of a yellow spring manifested around him, serving to condense the chaotic celestial power. Vast torrents of energy surged through his meridians, causing them to expand countless times over their original size. At the center of this spiritual vortex, his origin soul acted like a ravenous black hole, frantically devouring the celestial power. A moment later, the hurricane dissipated completely, leaving the world to return to a sudden, heavy tranquility. Only Wang Lin's face remained slightly flushed from the exertion. Lightning flickered within the depths of his eyes, and arcs of silver electricity danced across the surface of his skin. And quote, "I only need to gain further insight into my domain to reach the mid-stage of the ascendant level," and quote, Wang Lin muttered to himself, his voice low. And quote, "However, matters of the domain cannot be rushed," and quote. He moved with practiced calm, putting away the 7-star sword and the newly acquired celestial jade. His thoughts turned toward the local powers who had sought to use him. And quote, "Since someone wants to drag me into this mess, you must show sufficient sincerity," and quote, he thought coldly. And quote, "They should have a clear idea of my strength after that display," and quote. Wang Lin's divine sense surged outward, instantly enveloping the entirety of Ran Cloud Planet. He locked onto the 3 specific ascendant-level divine senses he had detected earlier. With a sudden flash of his body, he vanished into the void. 10,000 miles away, outside the Rand family's ancestral home, the Rand family ancestor sensed a sudden, piercing aura. He immediately teleported out of his secluded chamber to meet the intruder. Lightning condensed in his palm as he struck at the void without a moment's hesitation. This was his signature ascended divine ability, the Palm Bolt. He let out a cold snort, But it was cut short as Wang Lin's voice echoed from the very air around him. Wang Lin stepped out of the void, the celestial shadow flickering ominously behind him. With a gentle, almost effortless sweep of his hand, the shadow crushed the palm bolt into nothingness. Before the ancestor could react, Wang Lin teleported directly in front of him and delivered a light, firm push. The Ran family ancestor was sent flying backward like a falling meteor. He spat out a spray of blood and then several more mouthfuls as he tumbled through the air. Desperate, he hurriedly swallowed a handful of healing pills to stabilize his collapsing energy. The entire exchange had happened in the blink of an eye. The ancestor's heart was filled with nothing but pure shock and terror. Just what is this person's cultivation level? He wondered frantically. Could he be at the great circle of the late-stage ascendant level? If he had intended to kill me just now, I would certainly be dead. The celestial shadow retracted behind Wang Lin as he stood tall. And quote, "Was it you who wanted to drag me into the incident from 4 years ago?" End quote, he asked, his voice freezing. The Ran family ancestor's mind trembled under the pressure. He gritted his teeth and bowed his head. And quote, "Fellow Taoist, this was my mistake." End quote. End quote. I don't and oppose. Want to hear excuses. End quote. Wang Lin replied, his expression calm and unreadable. And quote, "If you want my protection, then show your sincerity. Your current sincerity is not enough." End quote. Wang Lin stood with his hands behind his back, his gaze sweeping across the surrounding area. And quote, "You two should come out as well." End quote. At his command, Sun Shi and the middle-aged man from the glacier, the phantom of Xiaoyao Sanren, manifested themselves. Both had witnessed the Ran family ancestors' crushing defeat, and their hearts were visibly shaken. And quote, "Hand over 70% of your family and oppose, celestial Jade as the condition for my protection." End quote, Wang Lin stated indifferently. Sun Shi did not hesitate, nodding immediately. And quote, "As long as we can escape the shadow of 4 years ago, I accept." End quote. Wang Lin then turned his cold gaze toward the other. End quote, "Xiaoyao Sanren, you must also hand over 90% of all your celestial jade. In addition, the remaining pills, the storage bag from 4 years ago, and all the relics of that Huan family member, bring them all to me. If the celestial jade is not enough, you will be responsible for making up the difference to satisfy my cultivation needs. Otherwise, I will not involve myself in this matter." End quote. Wang Lin's words were absolute, leaving no room for negotiation. The Ran family ancestor and Xiaoyao Sanren pondered the demand for a brief, heavy moment. The threat from the Huan family was too terrifying. They knew that once they were discovered, it would mean the total destruction of their clans. Reluctantly, the two of them nodded in agreement. They handed over the piles of celestial jade and the requested relics. To them, these items, held in secret for 4 years, were no longer treasures, but death warrants that had finally been passed to another. After collecting the items, Wang Lin turned and vanished into the air, leaving behind only a final instruction, and quote, "Do not disturb me unless it is important. If the Huan family comes, I will take action." End quote. Once Wang Lin had departed, Sun Shi and Xiaoyao Sanren took their leave in silence. The Ran family ancestor stood alone on the spot, muttering to himself and quote, "Giving up wealth to avoid disaster. I only hope this person keeps his word and does not leave in secret." End quote. Meanwhile, on planet Huan, inside the Huan family's ancestral home, the head of the family, Huan Fengshan, stood respectfully before a thin, elderly man. This was the formidable Huan family ancestor who had recently returned with Lu Mei. And quote, "The clansman who went missing 4 years ago, why is it only being handled now?" End quote, the old man asked, his voice like cracking ice. End quote, "Ancestor, that person was only from a branch family." End quote, Huan Fengshan replied calmly. End quote, "His talent was decent, reaching the mid-stage ascendant level, which is why he was given an external post. The Huan family has many members. If it is not a direct descendant who goes missing, it is difficult to investigate every single one." End quote. The old man frowned. And quote, "Are there no clansmen with higher cultivation available?" And quote. And quote, "Ancestor, time is too tight." And quote, Huan Fengshen explained. As for the matter of the clansmen missing from 4 years ago, assign it to the guards allocated to Huan Mei. Deal with everyone involved. Uproot them completely to establish the Huan family and Oppo's prestige." And quote. Huan Fengshen obeyed and withdrew. As he walked away, he thought to himself, the ancestor is actually willing to use the family and Oppo's bloodline for an outsider. Could he be planning to hand the Huan family over to her? 3 days later, inside a quiet pavilion, Lu Mei spoke to a man who had manifested from the void behind her. And quote, "Huan Dong, I have been ordered to handle the matter of Ran Cloud Planet." "Go then." And quote. The man, Huan Dong, knelt on one knee. He gazed at Lu Mei with fanatical, infatuated eyes. And quote, "Your subordinate obeys. My cultivation has already reached the peak of the mid-stage ascendant level. There should be no accidents on this trip." And quote. And quote, "This is the first time I am doing something for the Huan family." And quote, Lu Mei said softly. And quote, "Finish it quickly. Do not tarnish my reputation." And quote. And quote, "Rest assured, miss." And quote, Huan Dong replied, his eyes growing even more intense as he stared at her smile. And quote, "The Ran family ancestor is merely at the same level as me. Even with 100 times the courage he wooed and Oppo's, dared to resist." And quote. Back on Ran Cloud Planet, Wang Lin teleported to the Sun family's small city. He did not return directly to his residence, but instead walked slowly along the streets. He was deep in thought, pondering his domain and contemplating the eternal cycle of life and death. His domain had already merged with his origin soul, yet he remained plagued by confusion. Is karma what lies above life and death? He wondered. The yellow spring is the manifestation of the Tao of death, but where is the Tao of life? As he entered the northern part of the city, Wang Lin saw Sun Lin sitting cross-legged under a rock. He revealed a slight smile. This young man was kind-hearted, a trait that was truly rare in the ruthless cultivation world. Sun Lin opened his eyes and saw Wang Lin approaching. And quote, "You wear an and Oppo's tea taken away." And quote, he exclaimed in surprise. And quote, "They just asked some questions and then let me come back." And quote, Wang Lin smiled. Sun Lin gave him a suspicious look but chose not to pry. He said seriously, and quote, "You should still focus on your cultivation. Your cultivation has an and Oppo's changed at all since you first arrived. Diligence can make up for a lack of talent." And quote. Wang Lin nodded. And quote, "You too, work hard on your cultivation. Reach the soul transformation stage soon." And quote. Sun Lin shook his head bitterly. And quote, "Soul transformation has nothing to do with diligence. Without comprehension of the heavenly Tao, no amount of effort will help. I will be satisfied if I can reach the great circle of the nascent soul stage in this life." And quote. Wang Lin smiled encouragingly. And quote, "Keep this mindset, and you will surely reach soul transformation." And quote. Sun Lin took the words as mere comfort and laughed. And quote, "If that day ever truly comes, I will definitely remember your words today. Hurry back and cultivate." And quote. Wang Lin nodded, walked into the entrance of his residence, and his figure vanished. Sun Lin looked at the empty space where he had been and whispered to himself, and quote, "Can I really reach soul transformation?" And quote. Inside his residence, Wang Lin sat cross-legged. His body was brimming with celestial power. He only needed that final spark of domain insight to break through. He took out the relics of the Huan family member that had been handed over by the 3 ascendants. Inside the storage bag, besides clothes and miscellaneous items, he found grade 8 pills, 2 magical treasures, a jade slip, and a token. The 2 treasures had no divine sense imprints, only a trace of lingering resentment, as the Ran family ancestor and the others had and Oppo's dared to claim them. The first item was a black comb. Its 19 teeth emitted a bloody and fierce aura. Wang Lin saw at a glance that it was an offensive rank 6 celestial treasure, inscribed with formations of extraordinary power. The second item was a pair of purple gold firestones. As they floated in his palm, they emitted a stinging, intense heat. Wang Lin held one and rubbed them together, causing star-like sparks to burst forth. And quote, "A naturally formed treasure," and quote, Wang Lin gasped. From 2C's memories, he knew that natural treasures were extremely rare, often surpassing even inherited treasures. These firestones were materials for artifact refining that contained strange divine abilities. The refined fire produced by their friction was remarkably similar to the yang fire used by the Sky Demon County Manager in the Land of the Demon Spirits. They could be used for refining or as magical treasures in their own right. And quote, "It and Oppos. A pity they have too many flaws and lack the metal element," and quote, Wang Lin noted, his eyes full of regret. And quote, "Otherwise, the power of these firestones would not be weaker than a top-tier rank 6 celestial treasure. In the great celestial realm, they could even rival a low-tier rank 7 celestial treasure," and quote. The firestones were riddled with impurities. If he tried to refine them by force, he feared not even 1/10 of their current size would remain. Putting them away, he picked up the Huan family token. When his divine sense entered, the token flashed with 3 bright lights before returning to normal. It appeared to be a common identity marker, but Wang Lin felt something was amiss. He let out a low shout and channeled his celestial power. The shadow beneath him extended and wrapped around the token. Using the yin-yang and illusory properties of his power, he saw through the secret. The token contained a divine ability related to the life soul. The Huan family would know the exact moment a clansman died. Finally, he picked up the jade slip. It bore no divine sense, only the resentment of the deceased. As Wang Lin's divine sense merged into it, the resentment dissipated, but the slip suddenly emitted an invisible ripple, attempting to escape the room and transmit a signal. A flash of electricity appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. Bolts of lightning shot forth, completely crushing the ripple. With the transmission erased, he checked the contents, and his eyes gradually lit up. And quote, "It and Oppos. Actually the and Oppos. Huan family heartless Dao and Oppos," and quote, he whispered. The slip recorded the family's divine abilities, though key parts were obscured by a bloodline restriction. However, what truly moved him was a specific piece of information. A golden rock mineral vein had been discovered on planet Cloud Mist. And quote, "It matches," and quote, the golden light in Wang Lin's eyes surged. And quote, "Could it be a metal element firestone vein?" No wonder that Huan clansman was hunted until he was heavily injured. Anyone would fight to the death for such a heavenly treasure, and quote. He realized the 3 from the Ran family surely didn't and Oppos know about this, otherwise they would never have involved him. The heaven-defying bead only lacked the metal element to be complete. Once it recognized its master, its full potential would be unlocked, a prospect that filled him with covetous intent. And quote, "Whoever tries to snatch the mineral vein, I will kill," and quote, he thought, a cold light of killing intent flashing in his eyes. Wang Lin put away the items and expanded his divine sense once more, locking onto Sun Shi. And quote, "Engrave the map of the All-Heaven Star region you possess onto a jade slip and send it over," and quote, he commanded. Sun Shi did not dare to delay and immediately sent the star map. 10 days later, Wang Lin received it and located planet Cloud Mist. It was extremely far from Ran Cloud Planet, requiring several months for a round trip. Furthermore, it was an abandoned planet, notorious for being filled with deadly toxins and miasma. Wang Lin memorized the star map, his path forward now clear. After meticulously organizing his magic treasures, Wang Lin stepped out from the confines of his cave. In an instant, his figure blurred as he teleported tens of thousands of miles into the void, his trajectory set straight for the astral wind layer. Just as he made his move, the Ran family ancestor, Xiaoyao Sanren, and Sun Shi arrived via teleportation. Their expressions were a complex tapestry of varied emotions. And quote, "Is fellow Taoist Su leaving?" End quote, the Ran family ancestor asked, his voice heavy with concern. The three of them had only just handed over the entirety of their assets, making their sudden suspicion inevitable. Wang Lin responded with a chilling coldness. End quote, "I know." Huan Dong, a second-grade member of the prestigious Huan family, was whistling through the air atop a star compass. His gaze was frigid and his expression radiated an insufferable arrogance as he charged directly toward the astral wind layer. He made no effort to hide his presence. Instead, his divine sense and celestial power flooded the world without restraint. End quote, "I am Huan Dong of the Huan family from planet Thousand Illusions." End quote, he bellowed. End quote, "Ascendant cultivators of planet Ran Yun, come out and greet me." End quote. His voice, bolstered by the sheer weight of his divine sense and celestial power, rippled across the entire Ran Yun region. Low-level cultivators were violently shaken by the sound, many spitting out mouthfuls of blood. At the foot of the mountain, Sun Lin suffered internal heart damage from the shockwave and collapsed helplessly to the ground. The Ran family ancestor and his companions turned deathly pale. The mere name of the end quote, Huan family end quote, pierced through their minds like sharpened blades. In their moment of burgeoning despair, the three immediately looked toward Wang Lin, their eyes flickering with a desperate glimmer of hope. Wang Lin's expression remained preternaturally calm, though a sharp, cold light flashed within his eyes. His divine sense transformed into the roar of thunder, locking onto the horizon. He shouted a single, explosive word, end quote, "Scram," end quote. As the thunderous command erupted, Huan Dong, who had only just emerged from the astral wind layer, was instantly enveloped by a cage of lightning. He let out a furious roar, end quote, "You're courting death," end quote. Huan Dong's right hand blurred into a seal, condensing a brilliant white light as a frigid aura began to spread around him. He was a practitioner of the Huan family's Mind Five Elements art and had already comprehended the domain of stillness. At that moment, the white light gathered the very power of heaven and earth, slamming down toward Wang Lin with crushing force. Lightning surged violently around Wang Lin's body. With a casual point of his right finger, the Nirvana finger whistled forth. It was infused with dense lightning, its potency increasing several-fold until it felt as though a heavenly tribulation itself had descended. The pitch-black finger wind instantly shattered the white light surrounding Huan Dong. Huan Dong's face drained of color, and he began to retreat rapidly. However, the finger wind pursued him relentlessly like a black dragon. In a panic, Huan Dong sent out a gold sword, screaming, end quote, "Stillness power," end quote. The gold sword was useless. It shattered inch by inch the moment it made contact. In the final moment of crisis, he pressed his palms together to meet the oncoming finger wind. A loud boom echoed through the air as blood sprayed everywhere. His body was sent hurtling back like a falling meteor, lightning dancing across his skin while his origin soul suffered immense agony. Terrified, Huan Dong decided to flee. White light flashed across his legs as half of his body merged into the void, attempting to teleport away. However, Wang Lin's celestial power was now infinitely close to the mid-ascendant stage. To him, killing Huan Dong was as easy as flipping his hand. Wang Lin lightly tapped his storage bag, and the seven-star sword formation flew out. 7 streaks of light chased after the fleeing man. Before Huan Dong could fully vanish into the void, the souls of the 7 swords manifested and merged into a giant claw that tore through the emptiness, dragging him back into the physical world. The 7-star sword formation immediately surrounded him, the cold glint of the blades serving as a silent warning. At the slightest movement, he would be slain. The Ran family ancestor and the others gasped, their eyes filled with dread. The Ran family ancestor secretly made a vow to himself never to become Wang Lin's enemy as long as he lived. Xiaoyao Sanren was now fully convinced that Wang Lin had already reached the peak of the late ascendant stage, while Sun Shi secretly rejoiced at having maintained good terms with such a monster. Huan Dong's scalp tingled with fear, yet he still managed to shout a threat. He stopped abruptly when he saw the murderous light in the eyes of the three ancestors, who were clearly considering silencing him forever. End quote. Fellow Taoist Huan, what brings you to planet Ranyun? End quote. The Ran family ancestor asked in a deep, threatening voice. Huan Dong laughed coldly. End quote. So, our clansmen from 4 years ago were indeed killed by you. The bloodlines of your three families have reached their end. End quote. The Ran family ancestor turned and cupped his fists toward Wang Lin. End quote. Fellow Taoist Su, how about leaving this person to us? End quote. Wang Lin nodded in silent agreement. He used the 7-star swords to seal Huan Dong's origin soul before speaking. End quote. I have urgent business. I will be back in a few months. End quote. As Wang Lin turned to depart, Huan Dong shrieked, end quote, if you kill me, Miss Huan Mei will not let you off. She is the ancestor's only disciple and will be the head of the Huan family in the future. End quote. Wang Lin paused mid-step. End quote. Huan Mei? What was her original name? End quote. Huan Dong attempted to use this information as leverage, but before he could speak another word, Wang Lin reached out into the void and physically pulled him close. Wang Lin's palm pressed firmly against the man's forehead, using his celestial power to perform a brutal soul-searching. Huan Dong struggled in absolute agony as Wang Lin flipped through his memories. When Wang Lin saw the face of the beautiful woman in those memories, his expression gradually darkened. He released his hand and struck. Huan Dong's physical body collapsed instantly, and his origin soul was unceremoniously thrown into the soul flag. End quote. Lu Mei, end quote. Wang Lin whispered, his brow furrowing. Scenes from his past on planet Suzaku flashed through his mind. He fell silent for a brief moment, then forcibly pushed the thoughts aside. He headed straight for the astral wind lair. The three ancestors did not dare to stop him, watching in silence as he disappeared through the atmospheric barrier. Once clear of the planet, Wang Lin released his star compass. It transformed into a silver dragon, carrying him with incredible speed toward planet Yunxia. End quote. If Lu Mei has changed, so be it. End quote. He mused. End quote. If she continues to be troublesome, I can only kill her. Though the Huan ancestor is strong, if I cannot beat him, I can still kill his clansmen. At worst, I will simply leave. End quote. Wang Lin traveled with all his might, driven by a single unwavering thought. The Jingnia vein on planet Yunxia was his key to reaching the peak of the ascendant stage. Whoever stood in his way would die. 1 month later, planet Yunxia finally appeared within the range of his divine sense. At the same time, news of Huan Dong's death reached the Huan family. The Huan ancestor was furious, but he suppressed the urge to immediately destroy the planet, choosing instead to move up the date of the blood exchange ceremony. He ordered Huan Mei to handle the matter personally after the exchange and set up a star-locking formation to seal planet Ranyun. When Lu Mei heard of Huan Dong's death, her expression remained entirely unchanged, as if a mere ant had died. End quote. Planet Ranyun will be my battle to establish authority in the Huan family. End quote. She whispered to herself, standing by the window of her pavilion. End quote. Master will transfer power during the blood exchange ceremony to help me reach the peak of the late ascendant stage. Once I step into the second step, that person from planet Suzaku will be nothing but an ant. End quote. Just then, Lu Mei's storage bag vibrated violently, and a thick, resentful aura spread from within. She bit her fingertip and dripped blood into the bag, a trace of pain flashing across her face until the vibrations subsided. The Huan ancestor's figure appeared quietly behind her. He frowned and said sternly, end quote, the child is evil. Eradicate it quickly, lest it ruin your Tao heart. End quote. Lu Mei pleaded softly in response. The Huan ancestor sighed deeply and left, seemingly helpless against her wishes. Back at planet Yunxia, Wang Lin arrived on his silver dragon. The planet was a grim, dark gray, wrapped in a thick mist that even divine sense could not penetrate. Eerie roars echoed from within the fog. Wang Lin released the 7-star sword formation, which rotated around him to form a spiral of qi, piercing into the mist like a drill. He forced open a path and slowly descended. From the outside, it appeared as if the mist had simply swallowed him whole. Wang Lin's expression remained calm. Under the protection of the spiral qi, not a shred of the mist could touch him, though everything around him was a gray blur. With his divine sense blocked, he relied on the scene that unfolded caused his pupils to shrink. The sky was a ceiling of thick fog that blocked all sunlight, leaving the land in pitch darkness, though this did not hinder a cultivator and Oppo's vision. The ground was riddled with massive cracks, looking like countless giant mouths waiting to swallow the world. A dense aura of death permeated everything. This deathly aura did not come from a single source, rather from the cracks in the surface. Rotting tentacles swayed and waved in the air. At first glance, it looked as if the earth itself was covered in coarse hair, instilling a heavy sense of oppression. Low growls and roars echoed throughout the planet, most originating from deep underground. And quote, "Is this a completely abandoned cultivation planet?" And quote, Wang Lin wondered silently. He stepped forward, spreading his divine sense to search for the Jingnia vein. As he flew, he passed the ruins of several cities. This place had clearly once been prosperous, but now it was desolate. The tentacles extending from the earth wrapped around the ruins in a hair-raising display. Suddenly, the swaying tentacles on the ground stopped moving. In the blink of an eye, they retracted and disappeared beneath the surface. At that same instant, an earth-shattering roar erupted from the distant horizon. A red cloud lit up the darkness, charging frantically toward Wang Lin. Atop that red cloud sat a giant, fierce beast. It was roughly 1,000 feet long with a triangular head. It looked like a dragon, yet it was not. It resembled a snake, but its body was covered in countless whiskers. As it charged, the thick fog in the sky was pushed aside by invisible hands, billowing backward from the impact of its movement. When Wang Lin saw the beast through his divine sense, his expression changed drastically. And quote, "Moon Eater," and quote, he whispered. This beast was one of the most deeply ingrained memories of the ancient god Tusi. Wang Lin gasped and, without a word, immediately dove into a crack in the ground to hide. Information from Tusi's memories flashed through his mind, and a strange light appeared in his eyes. The Moon Eater was not a natural creature, but a unique parasite found within the bodies of the ancient god clan. While an ancient god lived, the creature survived by absorbing their blood and could not escape the body. Sometimes, they were even used as magic treasures. Usually, they died with their host, but there was a small chance they could survive and break out. The stronger the ancient god, the stronger the Moon Eater. The Moon Eaters in Tusi's body had all died, but here, one had appeared. Could there be ancient god remains here? Wang Lin wondered. But if so, why does no one in the Luotian star system recognize it? Surely the powerful cultivators would not let such a thing go. Hidden in the crack. Wang Lin watched the red clouds whistle past as the Moon Eater faded into the distance, lost in deep thought. Meanwhile, in the Alliance star system, on an ordinary cultivation planet, 2 women in colorful clothes arrived in the capital of a mortal empire. Red balls of light floated in their hands, emitting a fierce aura. And quote, "Sitanan, get out here," and quote, one of the women shouted. A string of curses erupted from the city, followed by a man in a purple robe flashing into view. It was indeed Sitanan, looking quite disheveled. He didn't end Oppos. He even look at them before fleeing. And quote, "Sitanan, the sect master has ordered all subordinate planets of planet Wanfeng to put you on the wanted list," and quote, they cried. And quote, "You cannot escape," and quote. Situnan turned back and shouted, and quote, "Go tell that wench, if she keeps pushing me, I'll take the scene of her being and Oppos, scandalous and Oppos, and carve it onto 100,000 jade slips to scatter across the entire cultivation alliance. Damn it, you've been chasing me for nearly 100 years. Aren't you tired?" And quote. The 2 women slammed their light balls together, merging them into a curvaceous, illusory red figure of a woman. And quote, "This time, I will not let you escape," and quote, the phantom said, raising a hand. The sky darkened and the earth trembled as heaven and earth began to compress. Situnan let out a strange cry as flames erupted from his body, allowing him to charge out of the compression zone. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. And quote, "You wench, just you wait," and quote, he roared as he fled. And quote, "I'll make sure every cultivator and mortal in the Alliance sees that and oppos, scandalous and oppos, scene. I'll have your name erased. I am a man of my word," and quote. Spatting more blood, Situnan fled frantically, his eyes bloodshot. He had already decided he would go into seclusion again. This time, if he didn't end oppos, T reached the glimpse of Nirvana stage, he would never come out.